Welcome to the Rad Sports Show, where the takes are hot, the vibes are right, and sports talk is always unfiltered.
Righteous.
With your hosts, Rick Horn.
Yeah, that's right. The man with the golden voice.
And I thought insurance salesmen were pushy.
And Danny Gilmore.
Sounds like some Lord of the Ring creature.
That's barbaric.
So sit back, crack open a drink, and let's talk some sports.
Friday, June 5th, 2026. Welcome to the Rad Sports Show. It's Friday night, which means we are live once again. Rick Horn and Danny Gilmore, your capable host this evening. Thanks for joining us. We've got all sorts of playoff madness to talk about this week. We are 2 games deep into the Stanley Cup playoffs, with Game 3 happening tomorrow. And for those following, Game 2 of the NBA playoffs is happening right now. The New York Knicks are up 1-0 over San Antonio. The UFL playoffs are kicking off this weekend to determine who plays for the championship next week, which actually Danny and I will be in attendance for. We've got some NFL news that we'll talk about. There's some big trades out there, arrest warrants, and everything in between. And finally, as always, we'll close out the show this week with our weekly sports betting segment. I'm currently undefeated against Danny. The first week we started doing this weekly sports betting thing, I ended up beating him by a staggering 21 cents. And then this past week, he ended up in the negative, so I ended up beating him by 51 cents. But that is going to be our show tonight. Danny, how the hell are you, man? How was your week?
Doing good, buddy. We're just going to go with that music a little longer. Went to the Aviators' last game of the season, like right after our show the next day. It was a blast. Every time I've gone for the last 5 seasons, for the last 5 games that they had, and at this point I feel like I should really just get season tickets if I'm at. What do I say? Are you vibing to the intro music? Yes, I am. The music, I get pumped up every episode. Like, I'll come in, sorry, changing the subject right off the bat. But sometimes I come in, I'm just like, man, I had a hard week. I don't know if I'm going to be much into it. Then Rick pumps up the tunes like while we're in the, man, I just get the music, we get ready to do the show. So now I'm all amped up now. Anyway, so yeah, went to the Aviators game, and every game I've gone to has been more and more of a blast. Like, I think they had over 10,000 people there, and they just have so many just stupid, silly chants. They're doing like just little tradition stuff. It's the Crew Stadium is right next to the airport, so every time a plane goes by, everyone in the audience goes, plane, 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 plane. And then if a helicopter goes by, everyone goes, boo! And they go, not a plane, not a plane. And so they're just like, they have so many just little stupid stuff. Like Maverick is the mascot. It's a dog, it's a German Shepherd. Yeah. So he comes out and everyone goes, who's a good boy? Who's a good boy? So there's just like, there's something going on all the time. And they had this little kid, found out his name was Winston, but because they're showing different people in the crowd, and this super little boy in his football, he had his leather Aviators helmet on, and everyone went, oh, and was just like clapping. They loved him. They changed to someone else in the stands. Everyone started booing until they go back to the little kid, like, we want the kid, we want the kid, going back to him. They did that for the entire game. And then, so it was just, and they found Winston, so after a while, like, we want Winston, we want. So like every 20 minutes, it would go cut back to this kid just randomly in the stand. So it was, and the game was awesome too. We lost, but it was a lot of fun. Yeah. So how was your weekend, Rick?
It was good, man. It was good. I told you last week how a few weeks ago I ended up buying my first offset smoker. Ended up making a killing on this thing, man. I paid, it was like, I want to say $140 or $160, something like that. But it was a local kid who refurbishes them. He'll buy old grills off of people, refurbish them, and then flip them. So I bought that one off of him, and then I sold him my old, it was like a combination charcoal propane grill, back to him for like $40. So really, I only ended up paying like $100 and some change. Gonna work on getting it seasoned this weekend. That way, whenever you come over to visit next weekend, we can have us some damn whiskey ribs.
Yeah, so. And let's explain that. So I am gonna be with Rick in DC to watch the championship game. So I looked up flights; they're too expensive. And then I was like, I'm just gonna Google Maps, see how long it is. It's only an 8-hour drive, and so if you're on the West Coast, that's a normal road trip time. So I was like, dude, I will absolutely drive over to DC and we'll watch the game together. So we're going to be doing that. It's going to be hopefully a lot of people
It'll be a lot
besides
of
us show up.
Absolutely.
And then we're going to watch the UFC 250 like the next day.
Yeah, no,
we're not going to be there.
thing,
I mean, unless something amazing happens.
No. Yeah. And we're not going to be there, but it should be a lot of fun. Excalibur says he loves his pellet grill. You know, I understand they are definitely better for set it and forget it type of stuff, but I don't know. You just don't get the same flavor that you do with a standard offset grill. But no, I guess while we're on the subject, before we kind of get into everything here, you had mentioned going to Aviators games and whatnot. We actually have some footage that you took here of the Aviators games.
Yeah,
so that's all the fans and whatnot. I'll kind of let you chime in on what we're seeing here. But,
sure.
I think this was not last game, but like a couple games ago, right?
Yeah, this is a couple games ago.
Against the Stallions, yeah.
I think I actually got the foot of the touchdown here. Yeah.
Yep.
That was sweet.
That's awesome. You can tell. I tell you what, as bad as the Columbus Aviators have been, you know, them being the bottom-dwelling team in the league, their fans are absolutely rabid, and they have just been absolutely loving it. And I'm glad that we kind of have someone there on site, you know, to be able to kind of catch the sights and sounds and whatnot, and be able to, for lack of a better term, report on it. But I am excited to see that team next year. Hopefully, they do remain in Columbus and that they get a good product on the field, because that fan base, now it doesn't really show it, I think, at this game. Like the first couple of games, especially that first one, man, people were just going bananas. Absolutely
so this game,
bananas.
Yes. So the thing about this stadium is that more people will be on the side I'm on more. So you can kind of, like, from this angle, you kind of see that there's more people on this side of the field versus the other side. So I don't know if people like to be spaced out, they go on the other side. If you like to be more condensed and with the rowdiness, you're kind of on the side that I was on, especially that corner, like by the stage. They call that the flight deck, and those are all just a bunch of hooligans up there, and it's a lot of fun. So anytime I go, I try to get that same section. I think it's second one, so I'm not quite in the flight deck, but it's kind of close enough to where I like being a little offset so I can see the field a little better, but close enough to the guys where I can get in all the silliness. So yeah, so that was by far the most fun game I went to was the last one, and can't wait for the next year.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. Well, there were some other sports happening since we've been gone since last Friday. Holly Holm, you mentioned last week that she was in an MVP boxing event, her rematch against Stephanie Hahn. Now, I didn't realize that this fight happened. Apparently, and I'd have to go back and look it back up, but apparently they fought earlier this year or within the past, like, 6 months or so. And the first fight between Holly Holm and Stephanie Hahn, I believe her name is, ended up in controversy. Holly Holm is a southpaw. Stephanie Hahn is orthodox, and it looked. I kind of went back and looked at it. Apparently, they were both. It looked like kind of ducked to throw an overhand punch with their dominant hand, and they ended up kind of clashing heads. And Stephanie Hahn got like a little gash on her head, but it wasn't anything crazy. Like, she looked like she was ready to keep going, like, and keep fighting. But they called the fight off, and because it went past more than halfway into the fight, they went to the judges' scorecards and gave the fight to Stephanie Hahn. So it ended up just being this huge controversy, and they fought again recently. They had their rematch. I forget which day. I want to say it was last Saturday. They had their rematch, and the fight went the distance, and they gave Stephanie Hahn the decision again. But, man, if you take a look at this right here, and I went back and watched the fight, Holly Holm, to me, the layman, like, definitely looked like the better boxer. You can see here, she landed more punches, was almost by 100 punches the more aggressive fighter, and was also the more accurate fighter. So me looking at that, I thought, well, did Stephanie just land the bigger shots? And to me, now she definitely did have some good shots in there, but I feel like Holly Holm got robbed, and it's a whole thing now. And the rematch ended up happening, I think, in El Paso, where Stephanie Hahn is from. So it sucks. And now, Holly's contemplating retirement, because there was all sorts of drama the first fight. Hell, she's 44 years old, is a multi-time, world boxing champion, former UFC champion.
How old is Gina Carano? Oh, I'm sorry.
I think you're good. Gina, I want to say is 43, turning 44.
Oh, so, okay. Yeah.
So that sucked, to watch that. I did go back. I didn't watch the first fight. I watched kind of the highlights and the stoppage from the first fight, and I watched most of the second fight. To me, it just seemed like Holly was the far better boxer, certainly the more aggressive of the two. Well, the numbers back that up. So
that kind of brings up two questions because I didn't see either of those fights. The first question I had regarding the first fight, because I know, especially before UFC, it didn't take much of a cut in boxing to stop a fight. And so I'm just kind of curious if that's the case in boxing, where if you do get, a gash, then they just stop it, where versus the UFC, it's like you have to be like, not be able to open your eye or being, not be able to fight, where this is like, I've seen in boxing, it tends to be if you're going to need stitches, they'll stop the fight. So I think that's my question. Does that look like the same sort of situation?
I'm not sure. To me, it didn't look like a bad cut, but then again, I don't watch boxing regularly. Right. What I do know is that Stephanie looked game to keep fighting, but right. the ref, and it was just a freak thing, like you have an orthodox and a southpaw, both are kind of like ducking to throw their overhand punch with their dominant hand, and they both, just kind of banged heads, and because it went past, the halfway through the fight, they went to the judges' scorecard, and to me, if anything, like I feel, and again, I'm not a boxing guru or anything like that, but I feel like in a situation like that should be more of a no contest than anything. But I guess with boxing rules, it going past the halfway point, I don't know. Yeah, but certainly, there was enough drama from that first fight, and now the second fight where the numbers. I mean, even if you don't watch the fight, the numbers certainly back up Holly Holm, but they ended up giving it to the hometown girl.
Well, that was going to be. This is my next question: is in terms of rounds, because I'm going to pull up that picture again here, because you look at the punches landed, obviously, thrown accuracy and everything's in Holly Holm's favor, but if you're going by, and this is something I want to bring up, if you're going like round by round, there might have been like more rounds where Han had more like landed more punches in those rounds by we'll say maybe she had like landed 10 where Holly Holmes landed like say close like 8 or 9, a little close.
Yeah, I got you.
And then Holly Holmes might have had some rounds that were she just beat the brakes off her. But and I'm sure I haven't heard a good reason yet. But I'm sure there's a reason why boxing and MMA, they do like the 10-9 rounds. And I hate that. That makes no sense. To me, if you're going to go like round by round, there should be rounds like, wow, like so many like 5-round championship fights. It goes, the first round is they're just checking each other, just trying to figure out their distance.
Right.
And they got to award like a 10-9 round from that round. And that should be, that's like this guy wins that round 4-2, something like that. And then you can build up. So you can really, and they do have 10-8 rounds, but those are so rare. It's just that it has to be someone just like got murdered, but still had a pulse, at the end of the round. And I guess they're technically still fighting. So we'll just make a 10-8 round. And so I just don't even, factor those in. But I don't know. I'm sure someone can come in and tell me that there's a reason why, they do the way, but I've never liked that. I think because there's so many fights we've seen where someone is just so dominant in 1 or 2 rounds, and then the other ones, it's like, they're a lot closer, but I could see it going to the other one, and then whoever wins the most rounds is the winner of the fight, even though they just look like, a bag of raw hamburger by the end of it.
Let us know in the comments if any of you did end up being able to catch the Holly Holm versus Stephanie Han rematch. What do you think of the results of the fight? I went back and watched most of it. To me, it if I were a judge, and again, I'm certainly not, and I'm not a boxing guru, but to me, I didn't feel like I understand what you're saying. Like there could be a possibility that Holly threw and landed more, but maybe that was she knew she was down on the scorecards and just got super aggressive late. I don't think that I did not think that to be the case. I think that Holly won most of the rounds in that fight. There was maybe, I think, a round or two, and I can't remember off the top of my head, where you could maybe give a slight edge, where it might be like a 10-9 in favor of Hein. But overall, I thought Holly was better. But neither here nor there. We do have some NFL news to get into. Of course, the blockbuster trade that was recently announced, the Myles Garrett to the Los Angeles Rams in exchange for young defensive player Jared Verse and some compensatory picks, I think, if I'm not mistaken on that one. But that's freaking huge. Myles Garrett to the Rams is insane. And then now there's potential that Aaron Donald may come out of retirement. There's been a lot. I think he had reached out and said, it definitely has my attention. We'll see if the fire's still there and whatnot. If Aaron Donald comes back and looks anything like he did before he retired, you have Aaron Donald, Myles Garrett. That's going to be freaking terrifying, man.
I thought it was official that.
Sorry.
Is
Keith
he
Carter
not?
said 27 first. 27 first what?
I don't know.
Keith, what do you mean 27 first? But
So I'm. It's funny you're talking about Aaron Donald, possibly coming back. I thought he was officially coming back, like it wasn't in question, and so I went to go look it up, and I'm just reading something that says he's not coming back.
Yeah.
So at this point I'm just gonna leave it that you said it, that he might be coming back, because that's I've only saw one source that said he's not. And there's like a YouTube channel somewhere. So
I'm
I don't know. So yeah,
but someone had asked him about it, and he said, more or less, I don't know. It certainly intrigues me seeing Myles Garrett there now. I'd have to look up the exact post, but he didn't give a hard no. At least at the time that post that I saw was there. So, but Myles Garrett. Obviously, the Rams right now are very, very, very much in a win now window. We're at the twilight of Matthew Stafford's career. They were in the NFC title game last year with our Seattle Seahawks. And, you've got aging veterans like Devontae Adams, so they are definitely in a win now mode right now while Matthew Stafford is still playing. And that's, part of why, and I keep harping on this, but that's partially why I was so surprised that in a weaker draft class that they used their number 13 pick on Ty Simpson out of Bama instead of Mekhi Lemon.
That's interesting, because that's going to be my next question, was how do you feel about that draft? There's, and I don't know if they were in the conversation back then, but if they knew that there was a good chance that they're going to get Myles Garrett, I don't know. I think I'm still okay with the Rams draft pick.
Right. Keith clarified. So that trade, it was for the Myles Garrett, Jared Verse trade. It was a 27 first, a 2028 second, and a 2029 third, and Jared Verse for Myles Garrett, that's insane.
Yeah.
I really feel like for both teams, I really feel like this was a great trade.
I do too.
You get Jared Verse is an excellent player. He's still young, former NFL defensive player of the rookie. NFL defensive rookie of the year. I want to say he's a 2-time Pro Bowler. Definitely a budding star. I've loved watching him ever since he was with the Florida State Seminoles. But they got a haul for Myles Garrett.
I was gonna say we have we have a few, since I've been in Ohio, I got a bunch of coworkers who are Cleveland fans, and they all hate this so much. They're just like, this is the worst draft or the worst trade in football. This sucks, blah, blah, blah. I think I'm 100% on your side on this, because I always like the theory that you trade away players a year early at the worst, because he's 30. He had a great season last year, probably might have been his best season, but Myles Garrett isn't going to take the Browns to the playoffs. He's just not going to be able to carry it on his side.
Right.
And so by the time, they might be a playoff potential, he's going to be, 32, 33, and then he's going to be really long in the tooth by then. By that time, when they are competitive, he's most likely not going to be able to be that guy for them. So I think this is I think this is a good trade from. They get, just like you said, they get, a young defensive star. They get some draft capital, and the big thing a lot of people don't talk about is they get the cap space there too. So you got some.
That's 100% right.
Yeah. So now they got money to go get someone in addition to get out of this this draft pick and this trade.
Adam says that there are videos of Aaron Donald saying that he's staying ready. I think that's kind of, you're probably looking at the same post that I was thinking of, Adam.
Yeah.
He put hashtag ready or staying ready, something like that. And then Keith chimed in and said, if they trade Garrett to an AFC North, if they trade Garrett to an AFC North team, the third becomes a first, which is hilarious.
Huh.
Interesting. Well,
I don't know the math there.
NFC West team. Yeah. So, but I mean, for the Browns, for their part, when we did, I don't know if it was our first show, but one of our very early shows, we had talked about, which teams we thought had the best draft, this most recent draft class. And I named the Browns as one of my favorite drafts because they attacked pretty much every single spot of need with exception of quarterback. But again, next year's draft is so much better for that. They're just in general, 2027 is a much better draft class than 2026. But they got they attacked the receiver help. They have already had a pretty good defense, even without Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett was just kind of the icing on top. So now, like you said, they get to clear up cap space. They get a rising young defensive player, very, very good in his own right. Yeah. And they get some draft capital. So it makes just as much sense for them. And the Rams, I think they're just, kind of throwing the future to the wind and saying, no, we have to win right now. We don't have much time left with Matthew Stafford. It's time to go win right now. So it definitely makes sense.
Yeah, but they seem to always get away with selling off their first-round draft picks. It sucks. Oh, yeah. As a Seahawk fan, it always pisses me off. They're gonna have no picks for the next 3 years, and then they go to the Super Bowl in 2 years. Right. So I don't know. They seem to always, figure something out. And I think this is obviously, for them to win right now, it's definitely worth the pick. But I could see them, I don't know, getting rid of these draft picks hasn't hurt them in the past. They used a first-round draft pick which you and me disagree with. I don't really know this quarterback very well, but my whole thing is if McVay likes him, then and he just seems to be the quarterback guru. So it's you know what? Go ahead. If you like this guy, then so be it.
I get it, man. But again, you are in two things for that. You are in a win right now mode.
Yeah.
And I'm not so sure that they couldn't have gotten Ty Simpson in the second round. I feel like they could have. I know we have some friends out there that will strongly disagree with me, but I don't know. I'm not sure what Jimmy G is doing. I think that they had wanted to bring him back. I'm not sure if
I think he is back at the team. I think he might be retiring.
Maybe, I don't know. But either way, they already had Stetson Bennett there on the team from Georgia, who was a multi-time national champion. So I don't know. I didn't love the pick, but you're right. He'll do well with Sean McVay there. I just think that they could have easily, gotten him. If they would have been able to get Mekhi Lemon in the first round, and then possibly come back and get Ty Simpson or another quarterback, that I really don't think the drop off would have been that far with this year's quarterback draft class.
I don't know. I feel like, but I don't know. In terms of you're getting, I personally like the idea of setting up to be a dynasty. I was looking at just reaction videos of the Seahawks getting Russell Wilson, the Kansas City getting Pat Mahomes, and Green Bay and Jordan Love, and there's everyone is just furious. Who are these guys? Why are we wasting or good draft capital on these quarterbacks. So I feel like defensive like draft picks tend to be a little safer, a little more than like quarterbacks, but obviously the quarterbacks are the most valuable picks, but it seems to be like such a crapshoot. But I feel like if I'm gonna trust anyone's opinion on drafting a quarterback, it's gonna be McVay. Oh, you're mute, Rick. Rick, mute. You're muted.
My bad. Yeah, I was saying, fair enough. Definitely not the only trade that happened this week. There were some other trades that went down. Obviously, the big one that we've all been waiting on, pretty much saw coming. The Philadelphia Eagles trade A.J. Brown to the New England Patriots in exchange for a 2028 first-round draft pick and a 2027 fifth-round draft pick. So he's back in New England, or not back in New England, rather. He's back with Mike Vrabel, this time in New England, who drafted A.J. Brown when they were still together with in Tennessee with the Titans. So, and I know at that time, Mike Vrabel was pissed that they traded A.J. Brown to the Eagles. He was pissed when he was still the Titans head coach. So we all kind of saw this coming. And then the Eagles ended up being the ones to draft Mekhi Lemon. So it's, another target for, I'm not sure if Stephon Diggs is still with the Patriots up there, but, if you would have told me, hell, even 4 or 5 years ago that Stephon Diggs and A.J. Brown were still on the same team, or were on the same team, rather, that would have been insane. And I think Drake May is definitely an up-and-coming quarterback. He's a very, very good quarterback. So it's just, you've got between, certainly on the Stephon Diggs side, A.J. Brown, I think maybe to an extent as well, kind of cancerous players.
Rick, so I wanted to plant just a little bit of seed of doubt for you with A.J. Brown, if I could.
Okay.
So for what, I think we've always just kind of considered him being like one of the best, wide receivers in football for the last few years, right? Out of the last 7 years he's been playing, how many times do you think he's been the top 10 in receiving yards? Twice.
Good question. Oh, really? Wow.
Twice. And that was the last, they were back-to-back. The last one was 3 years.
Wow.
So
that's crazy.
Last year he was 19th, 17th, then 5th and 4th, really fantastic. Then 32nd, then 16th and 64th.
Yeah,
So
I feel like at the same time they really didn't target him nearly as much as they had in seasons past. No, there could be something, So I
right,
don't know. And Keith corrected me. Stephon Diggs is currently a free agent.
Okay. Yeah. Keith, you want to come on the show, dude?
Yeah,
I'm cool with you. There's room on our screen. I can just bump down a little bit. Rick can move over, and you just pop up.
Hell yeah.
But now I will say AJ Brown he's got a ton of touchdowns. Like if you look at the rankings of touchdowns and just being open in the end zone, that definitely counts for something. But I don't know. Sometimes I feel like a lot of those touchdowns that you get as a wide receiver can be like play designs. I don't know. I know in terms of the talent of a wide receiver, it really comes down to receiving yards. And I'm really curious how much, if he's going to just go down the sort of the diva wide receiver guy that we saw with Antonio Brown, with Odell Beckham, and just
Diggs.
some of these Stephon Diggs, where they can just become like cancer in the locker room when they're just not getting the ball. Even when the Eagles did the Eagles start like 4-0 or something crazy like that, and he was already and like weren't happy with the way things were. But
he wasn't
I don't
getting
know
the ball enough. So he had some
but
tweet
even
or post whatever on his story or saying like use me or something like that, or how are you going to use me and not use me.
And then for a few games he was getting more targets and was drop more balls too, like really like getting the ball like in the helmet, in the chest, and just not completing those passes. So
right.
I think most likely he's going to be great in New England. However, I'd like to sow a couple seeds of doubt, just how I go, because I'm starting to see a little bit of evidence that I was like, he might not be that as great anymore. But
sure, I think if nothing else, he will get used more in New England than he did in Philadelphia, if nothing else. If nothing else, and then Excalibur chimed in with some other NFL news here. He says he hates to hear that the Bears could move. The field and team are iconic and have been around for over 100 years. And then he further states, and this is coming from a St. Louis fan, which we were born to hate, Chicago sports. Hell yeah. So
yeah.
So, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't the move to Indiana like 100% approved?
Yes, I think that today it just got approved. I think it's like Hammond, Indiana. I looked it up today.
Yeah.
Okay, I just looked it up today, and it's like,
Yep.
If you've never seen a map of Chicago like me, like not knowing where exactly those, Chicago is like right on the lake, right on the border with Indiana. So it looks like only like maybe 10 miles away if I were to just guess by measuring the Google without actually plotting the map out and everything.
Sure.
But isn't it strange though that just because you and me have some Bear fans and no one really seems that upset about them leaving like 100-year-old stadium, because to me I feel like you're just like, man, you should do everything you can to, and then I don't understand this. I guess like the stadium is owned by Parks and Recs, and why would they go not try and keep their biggest revenue source in Chicago?
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of, we've seen over the past, decade or so that a lot of these NFL cities, like they are, hey, if you don't pony up and buy me a new place to play, we have no problem moving to a city that will. I know the Buffalo Bills had kind of played chicken for a little while.
Yeah. Oh, that's
now
right.
they're finally going to have their new stadium. Yeah. The Washington Commanders are going to have their new stadium soon. Obviously, the Rams moving from St. Louis back to L.A., the Chargers leaving San Diego. Like all these cities, these billionaire owners are more than content to leave the city behind, to go find someone that will foot the bill for them, or at least a good majority chunk of that bill. So
yeah, and it's really sad for something like Soldier Stadium.
Sure. Yeah, I was going to say in the case of Soldier Field. Yeah, and then of course Adam said Kansas City going to Kansas State instead of Kansas City, Missouri.
Yeah. I don't know if that's for sure thing. It might be.
Oh no, I'm sorry, not Keith. I thought it was Keith because it was a Packers post. Excalibur says the Packers will never move. That's probably true.
Yeah,
I know Keith will be happy to see that there. But yeah, no, it's interesting. But like you said, it's still relatively close to where they played, and I think the same with the Chiefs. I don't think that where they're going to be playing is terribly far from where they were before. Just on
is it official
side of the border?
Is it official that Kansas City is moving?
Yes, they are moving
really
from Kansas City, Missouri, to just on the opposite side of the border there to Kansas State.
Yeah, and that's also kind of sad. That's a pretty historic stadium too.
Which is why now officially the Missouri governor made the St. Louis Battlehawks Missouri's official professional football team.
Oh.
Yes, sir.
Because they're the last professional team in Missouri. Wow. Hey, congrats, buddy.
What a concept.
Yeah.
We made it.
Weird.
They'll still be the Kansas City Chiefs. What will the Bears be? That's a good question. Do they still call them, because it's kind of like the New York Jets and the New York Giants of New Jersey. You know what I'm saying? So we're
New Jersey paper airplanes.
Right. So I don't know. Maybe they'll still call themselves Chicago Bears because
they will
call yourselves the Hammond Bears or the Indiana Bears. I don't know.
It'll be the same, weird. But we got to come up with a name for them, though.
Right. Yep. But so it goes, man. Obviously, a lot of other stuff happened. We had the Russell Wilson retirement news. He did have an offer on the table to be the backup for Geno Smith on the aforementioned New York Jets, but ended up getting a gig with CBS Sports as an announcer instead, getting paid crazy money. So, I'm both surprised and not surprised at the same time. We saw a couple of times last year, and I want to say I don't know if it was last year or maybe the year prior. There was one game when Russ, I think before the kid that they drafted, what's his name for the Giants?
Dart?
Jackson Dart. Before Jackson Dart took over as the starter, Russell Wilson played against the Dallas Cowboys in Dallas, and it was like the last vintage Russ game that I remember seeing, and probably now will ever see again. So obviously, since Seattle, it's kind of been a downward spiral for Russ. You hate to see it because he's a stand-up guy. I think certainly in the conversation for Hall of Fame worthy, but the money makes sense. If he's not got it, if he's not going to be a starter, if he's not comfortable doing that, and if he's not content to just sit around, why not go chase a bag of money? Keith says he will be in the great state of Wisconsin tomorrow, right after coming back from his bougie vacation.
Ooh, Moneybags Keith.
Moneybags Keith.
It's definitely time for him to retire, I'm sorry to say. And, just his last 4 years, I think it's just, we're just so bad, unfortunately. Just the turmoil in Denver, then, what was it, Pittsburgh, and then New York. And it was, except for that one game that you mentioned. And unfortunately, I don't think it's going to be enough for him to make it to the Hall of Fame. I think when he left Seattle, he was definitely a contender. Could be in the talks. But I think with the way the rest of his career panned out, I just don't think that's going to happen for him, unfortunately. But he will be in the Seahawks ring of, and I really, really hope that he would maybe retire as a Seahawk. Come back for
a
one-day
contract.
One-day contract. Right. But I really don't know how much he likes Seattle. And it sounds really dumb. When he left Seattle, it was his Twitter was just thanks guys. And then he said something else that when his retirement thing, this last thing, and he I forget what he did, but it sounded like that the way he described it, he left out Seattle again too. So I don't know. I just think it would be
his time in Seattle kind of. I remember his first game as a Denver Bronco was against the Seahawks in Seattle.
Yeah,
and I hate to say, our fans treated him like shit. Just raining down with boos on him. And, I know he wanted a bag, and he found a team that was willing to do it. So, good for him. But I wonder if that's not part of it. And I know his relationship with the top brass got a little heavy there at the end.
Yeah.
So.
And I think it's and if he did come back just, to raise the flag, get on the Ring of Honor, I mean, everyone would just in Seattle would they would go bananas.
They would go bananas. They would shower him with love, give him all his flowers. No doubt.
Yeah, and he's without question the Seahawks' greatest quarterback of all time.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Certainly the most iconic, or one of the most iconic.
Yeah.
Alrighty, well, I believe that wraps up NFL news for us. You ready to talk some spring football playoffs?
Yeah, let's do that.
Let's do it.
The UFL playoffs are here, and the stakes have never been higher.
That's what we're used to seeing out of this Orlando offense. Anthony Beck loves it.
4 teams.
Louisville, stand up!
2 games. But only one can be crowned as the kings of spring football. It's time for the Rad Sports Show UFL Playoff Preview.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The UFL playoffs are here. For those of you that don't know or don't watch the UFL, first of all, shame on you. I like having football year-round. I know my buddy Danny here does too. But we are down to the Final Four this week. There are no longer in spring football, there are no longer conferences, so they just have the top 4 teams right now. It is an 8-team league. Looking on growing. That's another conversation for another episode. Mm-hmm. Right now we have the number 1 ranked Orlando Storm taking on the number 4 seed DC Defenders. This time for the 3rd week in a row. The 3rd week in a row is crazy to me.
Yeah.
So you got that game going on.
Yeah.
They actually ended up we talked about last week how, unfortunately, I don't remember the whole story behind it, but that stadium that the Orlando Storm plays at, Inter and Co Stadium, I believe, there ended up being, and I think it was like a super situational, if maybe another playoff thing with soccer, I don't know. But anyway,
it's international soccer game.
Right, an international soccer game ended up being scheduled for that particular day that the Orlando Storm would have otherwise had a home playoff game. So it ended up being this whole thing. They were going to end up, finally got a spot there in Columbus at historic Crew Stadium where Danny got to visit to watch the Columbus Aviators there. They were going to have their quote-unquote home game there, but finally at the last minute, they were able to get a stadium down in Florida, only about an hour away from Inter and Co Stadium at Daytona Stadium, which you'll see right here on the screen here. This is Daytona Stadium, home of the NCAA, I think, Division I Bethune-Cookman University Wildcats. I think it's also host to a high school team there in the area. It seats, I want to say, right around 10,000 people, so not bad for, a UFL game. Certainly, I think, if nothing else, they made the best out of a bad situation, getting somewhere close to quote-unquote home for the Orlando Storm. So, but this is the, I don't know, what do you make of that whole situation?
I'm kind of curious with the short notice for just the fans of how it's going to affect them at all. But I think there was enough complaints, on Twitter and, other like social media places where there was enough of a demand to just find something, close by. This stadium holds about 10,000. If you have all the players or all the fans on one side, you can really make that thing look a little more packed. I don't know. I think it's I think it's going to be better than having it in Columbus, because even though I would have gone to that game just because it's another game, I'm excited about it. This is the best right here. So there's definitely going to be a bigger showing here. So I really like that Rapoli, stepped in and called an audible and got this stadium together. So and it really just kind of shows what the UFL is versus other football, that they can make these adjustments and listen to the fans. So I'm all about it, even though I would have liked to have gone to the game. But I'll definitely be watching it. So
certainly. And Adam chimed in and said that this is a lackluster venue for a playoff game, in my opinion. Honestly, I agree. But, and I know this is Mike Rapoli's first year being part of ownership with the UFL. It was a pretty shitty situation, so I think that they did the best that they could with what they had. Certainly it sucks. Inter and Co Stadium is really not a bad venue, I don't think. Just watching it on TV, there's not a bad seat in the house there. It's actually a pretty cool looking stadium. Sure. But, I think if nothing else, I did see that any season ticket holders will get a free ticket to this game, and it's only an hour away from where they play. So it's a little ways out of the way, especially depending on, I'm not sure how far of a drive some of the season ticket holders are already driving to get to, the games that they normally play there in Orlando. But if nothing else, I think, best out of a bad situation, that's kind of cool that they're at least getting, a guaranteed free ticket to the game if you're a season ticket holder for the Orlando Storm. And Excalibur chimed in and said, no Teamu for DC, but it's also Beck's time to lose. Definitely something to be said about playing a team 3 weeks in a row. Jordan Teamu, I think we can pretty much agree. I mean, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but Jordan Teamu, in my opinion, is the best quarterback in the league. And I think showed that pretty comfortably this year before he got hurt. He was lighting up. He looked like the MVP to me, but
it's hard to say. I think Plummer is a close contention for Orlando. He's just done all the right. He hasn't been flashy as Teamu, but I just, he's getting the work done. And even Orlando as a whole hasn't been super flashy. Don't really think of them as having a lot of highlights or anything. But I think the biggest thing, they don't make a lot of mistakes. They don't make these at least from what I say, don't really a lot of just huge plays, but they just they just call the right plays. They play pretty conservative. They don't make mistakes, and I think it's just the best coached team. And I was watching an interview with Plummer today, and he was just talking about how, being the most likely the MVP. And he's like, man, just like to be the right place at the right time. A lot of it comes just for the guys who are blocking me and the wide receivers getting open in the right spot. So when you compare that to Tiamu, I don't know. It's hard to say who's better if Tiamu played for the rest of the season, what exactly they would look like. Did DC play? They did play Orlando early on, right? And didn't DC beat them?
This is the third weekend.
Oh no, they haven't. You're right. So
other.
this is all.
Yeah.
That's right. So it's just been these games right here. So they never got to play each other with Tiamu. So
I could be wrong.
But
I want to say that the first game that they played against Tiamu was the game that he got hurt.
I don't think they played, but not with Orlando, because it was during the regular season, they only played each other twice. They don't play each other 3 times in the regular season.
No.
So
I'm saying this week will be the third game in a row that they've played each other.
Correct, but they never played Orlando when DC had Tiamu, is what I'm saying. So we never got to.
I thought the game 2 weeks ago, which would have been their first game against each other, was Tiamu, but he just got hurt in that game.
I don't think so. I think Tiamu got hurt a couple. I think he got.
No, you know what? I think that was the Louisville Kings game that Tiamu got hurt. Now that
I think so. Yeah, because it was, because I can't remember what I think they were 5-1 or something when he got hurt. Because I know they lost in the first game with St. Louis.
You're right.
It was undefeated, and then when Tiamu lost, then it was just they haven't won a game since.
Right. And Shannon chimed in and said, better marketing optics. Small, full stadiums look better than huge, almost empty stadiums. I mean, I think that there's certainly something to be said about that. But again, it's going to depend on how many people that normally go to Orlando games do end up making the drive down there. How many, what type of marketing are they doing on super short notice to advertise, hey, we've got a professional football team based in Orlando that's playing a playoff game this weekend, in Daytona. So it'll be crazy to see. And then Excalibur says 3 weeks in a row is crazy. Could not agree more.
Is pretty bananas.
And Adam agreed with Shannon, said very true, and also a great opportunity for that university to host this type of venue.
That is really cool. It's just like when they did the what base did they play the Houston Dallas game?
Fort Hood.
On some Fort Hood. Yeah, I think that was pretty cool. But you got to remember, too, in terms of playing in this stadium, if you're not a big fan of this, the alternative was all the way in Columbus, where you'd have basically no fans there. I mean, maybe they would have showed up for another game. I don't know. I assume it would have been basically empty. But you have a better opportunity, listening to the fans, putting it somewhere that's an hour away, giving free tickets to all season ticket holders. And just like Columbus, Orlando has been slowly building up a fan base, and the numbers I don't think were fake, and I say fake. I think they're based on the numbers off something. They weren't like Houston, where when you looked in the crowd, you saw 50 people. When you're looking at the Orlando games, they start out with not a lot of people at the stadium at all, but actually throughout the season, where you'd see on the TV more and more people, and now they got to the point that it's a playoff team. I think there's a good chance to a decent size there. I don't think they're going to fill up the stadium. I think it might be, 5,000 people, but actually 5,000 people showing up, not 5,000 people in Houston where there's there's 3 dozen people there. So I'm going to watch it.
Sold is 5,000. Yeah,
and it's a playoff game too. That's the biggest thing. It's a playoff.
As for the game itself, I got to be honest. I do not have. It's such a weird wild card because on paper, Orlando should once again beat DC, but because they don't have their star quarterback, who I thought was well on his way to being the league MVP this year in Jordan Tiamu before he got hurt. But there's something to be said about playing a team 3 times in a row, because Orlando's defense, as far as I know, is still healthy. excuse me, DC's defense, as far as I know, is still healthy, and they're a very, very good defensive unit. So I'm sure they've seen enough of Jack Plummer and company the past few weeks to, be able to figure something out. You would have to imagine. But again, part of that is also going to be, can their offense stay upright and stay on the field long enough to, not wear the DC's defense out, do well enough to give them a break and whatnot.
And it's the last game that they played was interesting because there was, I can't remember, I think it was about 3 minutes left and DC was down by 2 scores. And on 4th down, rather than going for it, because it's like you have to go for it at that point, you have like no chance of winning the game. They punted, they had timeouts left, use them, and they just kind of let the game go. So, to me, for one thing, the playoff brackets are already set, so I can understand not wanting to risk anything. But part of me also wonders if you treat that game a little more like a preseason game. Obviously, the first game they play with each other might be playing a lot harder, but maybe this game, when the outcome is already certain, if you just, I want to try a little bit, I want to see, if we call this blitz, like how if they're able to, be able to read that, if, save some of our special plays for a little, and I don't know, it's a little bit wishful thinking because I would like to see DC go to the championship game just because we're going to that game, and I'd love there to be a full house.
And their fans are freaking awesome. I love DC's fans. And
it just sucked to go there and be in an empty stadium for the championship game. So I am rooting. It's wishful thinking on that end. But I'd be very curious if the gameplay was much different than the last game that they played with each other. So that being said, it seems like Orlando's unstoppable. So, that's...
I don't know that they're unstoppable. I think just with DC, they're between a rock and a hard place, man. Without their star quarterback, without Teamu, I think it's going to be very, very tough. DC has a stout defense, and their offense is certainly good enough with some former DC players, might I add, that it's going to be very tough for DC to overcome. Although, again, there's something to be said about having to play a team 3 weeks in a row, so. But I agree with you. As far as being able to go to DC, to see a game, Excalibur, I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to show you this a couple weeks ago. You had asked if I contributed to the beer snake. So here's me with some of the DC fans there with the cups, that we got to contribute there to the beer snake. I'm sure Adam remembers that, but that was freaking awesome. I'm rooting for DC only because, if my guys can get past Louisville this weekend, I would love to, have a better atmosphere there at Audi Field in DC, and B, I would just rather play the team who I think would be easier to beat, and my guys come home with the championship.
And DC and St. Louis really is, I think, the only rivalry in the UFL. Maybe Houston and Dallas, except that none of them have fans. So I think
it's a legitimate rivalry.
Yeah, so I think that would be fun as a championship game. I forgot to mention about the game I was just at. It was usually the day before me and Rick get on here and we just kind of make sure everything's working right. We plan out the show a little bit. And I was trying to save a story about that game, and I totally forgot about that. But about 2 seats away from me, there was a D fan there, and I don't know why he was there. And he apologized before he sat down, or all his fans apologized for him. And I was like, well, I don't know what you have to apologize for. I'll see. So it turns out he just complained the entire time. He's like, this is such a meaningless game. This doesn't help any of these teams at all. They don't even have nothing like a beer snake like DC has. And then just every 20 minutes, just nothing's going on. Just boo. So I was like, dude, this guy sucks. I was telling a friend of mine, man, this is like a gay guy going to a strip club. He's like, I hate this. Why am I here? It's just like, well, yeah, you don't have to be here. I mean, we're fine with it. But if you don't like this, you can, just not show up. But he was the entire time. He just would not shut up about how this is such a stupid game. Why is this even happening? Why do you even care? This doesn't mean anything here. So it was pretty funny, but also kind of annoying.
That is absolutely wild.
So, and I thought we could be kind of cool. Hey, I was kind of a DC fan before Columbus got a team. He's like, yeah, well, I've never been to a DC game, so it's like, wow, okay, buddy.
Yeah, we're going to have a lot of fun next week, I'll tell you.
I know.
And then, of course, the other side of that playoff bracket, they're in St. I don't have a video, unfortunately, but we're all familiar with the Dome in America Center in St. Louis, Missouri, the St. Louis Battlehawks, number 2 seed, hosting the number 3 seed Louisville Kings, who right now look very, very much like the hot hand in the league. Oh, shit.
Yep.
I messed that up. The Louisville Kings taking on St. Louis. Who do you got for that game?
I actually put $1, not on our bet, but just on my own. I put $1 on Louisville to win the championship. So I think the odds were less than 4-1. So I was like, all right. I think they got a good shot. I do have Louisville winning this game. I know that breaks your heart, but I just think Louisville's just looking really great. Even the game against us, I think they had a lot of their second string guys against Columbus, and they looked great. So, and I think there's some about Perez. Unfortunately, like the first game he came back, I just thought, oh my God, he's already the best quarterback in the league. And then since then, it's like, ooh, we're throwing some interceptions.
He doesn't look the same. And I think honestly, part of it as a Battlehawks fan, and actually real quick, Excalibur says he expects to see a lot of green in the Dome on Sunday, according to sites promoting Invade the Lou. I have seen that. That's one thing I will say, aside from, I mean, we all know St. Louis, not to toot our own horn, but they always, year after year, have far and away the biggest attendance in the league. But yeah. I think aside from the fact Battlehawks fans are going to go absolutely bananas that they have playoff football again.
Yeah.
But aside from that, I do think that there are going to be a plethora of Louisville Kings fans making the trip there to the Dome, just kind of following the different group pages and whatnot that I'm on. There are a lot of fans from Louisville planning to travel to St. Louis for that game. So
yeah, and that should
be a lot of fun.
There was a lot at the Columbus game. It's the first time I ever because it's the fourth game I've been to. I've never seen any other fan there before, but they had a great they definitely had a great showing at the Columbus game, and they ended up, I guess they had a section there, which I didn't realize until I saw a touchdown. You just see this little single section just go bananas off in the corner. They're like, what? Like they really did travel, and it's only like 3 hours away from us. And then I'm hoping next year to go to a Louisville game because that stadium looks badass. So
yeah, it does.
I think do you know how far away Louisville is from St. Louis?
Off the top of my head, I'm not sure, but it's got to be a fairly reasonable driving distance.
I figured
that many people are planning to go, so we could definitely look that up. Adam says,
how far away is
law.
Louisville from St. Louis?
Excalibur chimed in and said St. Louis's defense will be dominant and Harrison Frost will be ready if things go south. I think that is – I'm so nervous to just plant my flag with my Battlehawks. I mean, obviously I'm going to. They're my team. Yeah. My favorite sports team, period. I know that sounds crazy. But with the Battlehawks, I think in a vacuum, they have the best defense in the league. They've got several all UFL players on that defense, some of whom I think could easily be regular contributors on an NFL roster.
Yeah,
they've already shown the last time they played the Louisville Kings, who right now are the absolutely reddest of hot right now.
Yeah.
Right. But what our Achilles heel is our offense, particularly our offensive line. Our offensive line, for whatever reason, cannot. It's like a wet paper bag. Like we do have an all UFL center who this is his fourth year in a row getting all UFL honors, but the rest of our offensive line, man, has just been complete garbage, and it does not bode well for somebody like Luis Perez, who is more of a pocket passer. He can move a little bit, but it's not really.
He's been making some pretty bad mistakes, though.
Right, and that's the other part that I was going to get to as well, is he's been tossing some floaters out there, man, and it sucks to see in so many pages that I'm on. Oh, and then so it's about 159 miles, which is about 4 hours away from St. Louis.
Yep.
Another thing that's going to suck is the Cardinals are in town as well, so we'll see. Either way, I think attendance is going to be great. Excalibur's going to be there at 7 a.m. for game time. Geez, he's going to be literally there all day from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. for kickoff. That's crazy. But Excalibur, like I've said in many shows in the past, is he is among the best in terms of football super fans. I'd put you up there with any other super fans in whatever league, college, professional, or otherwise, my friend. But no. Our offense is like I said, it's been our Achilles heel. Luis Perez, you hit the nail right on the head. He's kind of tossed some floaters out there. He can't stay upright with our offensive line. With Harrison Frost, it's kind of been exhausting all season. First, I was super stoked about having Brandon Silvers because I remembered how he looked with the Houston Roughnecks back in the day with the same offensive coordinator that the Battlehawks have now. He looked awesome. This year didn't look so great. Everybody, myself included, let's roll out Harrison Frost. He comes in, wins us a game, after I think Silvers ended up getting benched and Harrison Frost relieved him, ended up winning the game. He's been very Jekyll and Hyde. There have been some games where, particularly against the Louisville Kings, that Harrison Frost looked very, very good. But other times he looks terrible. Like he's mobile, but he doesn't have like great decision making. So he's certainly the more athletic of the two. I think if St. Louis is going to win this game, regardless of who starts at quarterback, I think that the recipe has to be very, very much similar to the last time that they played the Louisville Kings in Louisville, which is get after the quarterback. We certainly have the personnel to do so. I think if St. Louis wins, it's going to be all about their defense and just stopping the offensive firepower of the Louisville Kings.
So I think just in terms of like just playing for like what I want to see if like when we go to the game, I think the worst outcome would be if Orlando plays Louisville. Though I would definitely be rooting for Louisville like in that scenario, but I just feel like the experience wouldn't be as fun. But that might be the top teams right there. Even though I'm not a big St. Louis fan, it would be cool to see, like, because I've never been to that before. And then they're your team, so it would be cool to go with you watching, your team in the championship game would be great. Obviously, if any way DC could make it to the championship, that would be badass. But I don't know. So I think DC, St. Louis is kind of, I think, my dream matchup. I think just for as an experience, I think that would be top tier. But in terms of teams, like I'm kind of rooting for Louisville, but that's not necessarily the team I want to go see there live. But it's I think either way it's gonna be fun.
Quick shout out to Excalibur. Just says he's going to include me in his video. He has, if you have a chance, Danny, go add Excalibur on Facebook. He every week makes these absolutely hilarious pregame videos. And he said, if I look like his distant cousin, don't blame it on him. Blame AI. He's going to be doing his video as a tribute to our Battlehawk region. So, 6 p.m. Eastern time, Keith, is the Battlehawks Louisville Kings game. And Excalibur said, I would have cut you out of it, but it picked the Kings. I would have cut you out of it if you picked the Kings, though. If I would have picked the Kings, he would have taken me out of the video. No. I'm taking my Battlehawks, only because, we've played them before at their stadium and won. So we are, I think, the only one of the few teams that have a true, genuine home field advantage. Obviously, the Cardinals being in town kind of hurts us in that regard a little bit, but I think that there will still be plenty of Battlehawks fans there at the Dome in St. Louis. He said, "Oh, you're good. The Cards play at 1:15. Oh, so perfect. So people would be more than willing to double dip, I would think, after the Cardinals game, going there to the Battlehawks game.
Man, that would be fun to do a day of go to the baseball game during the day, get out, hit a couple bars, maybe grab dinner, and then you finish out the day at a football game.
100%. Yeah, no, and I will say sweet. I kind of got something like that living in Jacksonville. How I told you all the stadiums right there. That was super cool. Yeah, I'm gonna take the Battlehawks here. I actually did for both of the UFL playoff games. I'll save this for the end of the show when we're doing our weekly sports betting segment. But I did make two very interesting bets this week for one of each of the UFL playoff games.
I don't know if you saw, but I forgot to do my bet. So while you're talking about something, I was like, oh crap, and I went down. I was like, bet.
Oh no!
So I got to figure it out though. I think they're okay. So
it should be interesting to see. Hopefully, we get some good football this weekend, and yeah, looking forward to it.
yeah,
Ready to talk some hockey?
yeah. Let's do that.
Let's do it.
Get ready for Stanley Cup Carnage,
Is that goal regulation size or what?
where legends are made and fan bases implode. It's the Rad Sports Show Stanley Cup Playoff Review.
The Stanley Cup Finals are underway. They are 2 games deep right now, and the series is currently tied. Vegas Knights taking game number 1 in Carolina, 5-4, and then last night, or game 2, was an absolute thriller, man. I don't know if you had a chance to catch it or any of the highlights or anything like that. Vegas looked like they had Carolina dead to rights. They were up 3-0, and then finally there in the third period, Carolina just goes on an absolute tear, ties up the game, goes into overtime, and Carolina wins in overtime at home. So game 3 going to be in Las Vegas. What do you got?
Not a whole lot. I have. Let me see. Actually, I might have to save this, but I actually made a bet. I can tell you what I did anyway.
Sure. Agreed.
Here.
Exciting series.
Here, eat some.
for sure.
Maritime, quick. Well, I pull this up.
It's all good.
Hold on, I gotta log back in.
You're good. You're good.
But I ended up picking a team for one of my bets, and we'll talk about it later. I won't say what exactly it was. It was, what did I pick?
I can kind of take
I don't
over
know.
for a
Who
little
did
bit
I pick?
while you're looking that up.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's been a crazy series, and we had talked about in our fantasy football chat. This was going to be a very, very exciting series. Carolina has a lot of speed on that team, and they have definitely showed it. Although it was crazy, it was almost tough to imagine when we were talking about this series, the way that Vegas was able to absolutely steamroll through Colorado, who was kind of the boogeyman, coming out of the regular season as hot as they did, and then obviously into the playoffs until they reached Vegas, until they ran into Vegas. It was tough to imagine really anybody that would have come out of the other conference being a challenge for the Las Vegas Golden Knights. But I tell you what, that first game was razor thin. Game 2, it looked like Vegas had Carolina dead to rights, but crazy finish. Absolutely insane finish to game 2. So I think Vegas going into game 3, it'll be the first game on their ice this series. I think that the Knights fans that place is going to be absolutely freaking bananas. So it's going to be a tough game 3 for if you're a Carolina fan, but I think it's already shaping up to be an incredibly exciting series so far.
So I figured out what I did. I meant to bet just straight up with the Golden Knights winning the game because it was, I think they're favored like 1.5 goals. I won't play it safe. I just want to bet with them winning, and I'm still not used to DraftKings. I usually use FanDuel,
Sure.
And I thought that's what I was betting on, but I ended up betting on the game as a whole being under 5.5 points. So I didn't take anyone on that one. So that's why I screwed up. But if we're just going with it, I'm taking the Golden Knights, playing at home.
I thought you were rooting for Carolina the rest of the way.
Oh, I'm rooting for them, but I thought, is this who I'm rooting for, or is this what we're predicting?
Oh, fair enough. Yeah, they don't have to be synonymous with each other.
You're right. So all I'm rooting for is a game under 6 points.
Honestly, I think that's part of what's been so exciting about this whole series is that it has been high flying, high scoring affairs, which it's obviously we had talked about a few weeks ago, if you weren't here for the show, the reason why we're rooting for Carolina now prior to the conference finals, when it was still the semifinals, we had, neither of our teams were in the NHL playoffs. I'm a St. Louis Blues fan. Danny here is a Seattle Kraken fan. And so the team we had picked to root for was the Buffalo Sabres, because I think it had been since like 1998 or something like that, the last time they went to a conference finals, and they didn't even win, if I'm not mistaken. But so we'd taken the Buffalo Sabres, and they ended up not making it past the Montreal Canadiens. Montreal Canadiens end up going to the Eastern Conference Finals against the Carolina Hurricanes, who are in the Stanley Cup Finals now. During those conference finals, so you had Carolina and Montreal on the East. And then on the West, you had the Las Vegas Golden Knights against the Colorado Avalanche. Now, I will never, until hell freezes over, pun intended, I will never root for the Colorado Avalanche to experience any kind of success, simply because they are owned by one Stan Kroenke, owner of the Los Angeles Rams, formerly the St. Louis Rams. And as you can tell, St. Louis guy all over the place. Won't ever root for the Colorado Avalanche to do well. But all of that said, we ended up rooting for Carolina because, well, the Vegas Golden Knights, I mean, it's awesome for them. They've been in the league for, even Excalibur says, amen. We will never, ever, 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 ever root for anything Stan Kroenke. But the Vegas Golden Knights, I think we had said, they've been in the league for 9 years now, and this was their 5th time going to the conference finals, and obviously this time advancing. Not sure how many times they've been to the Stanley Cup Finals, but to have that much success, and I think their 2nd year in the league, end up winning the whole damn thing. So as awesome as that is, it's like, all right, give somebody else this, that's enough.
Yeah,
like,
you've had enough.
Cool story.
Step aside.
We're good, right? So we weren't going to root for Vegas. We weren't going to root for Colorado. And
never going to root for Montreal.
I'm never going to root for a Canadian team because go America.
At least not this year. Maybe down the road, I was like, it might be too bad. But just with the Olympics that we just had, recently, this is an American sport. We're going to keep it that way for the foreseeable future.
I would say for me, especially because of the Olympics, not, just because of the Olympics this year. I would say especially. But no, I'm always going to root for an American team no matter what. They're playing Canada. Sorry. But so then that leaves Carolina. So we've kind of hitched our wagon with rooting for the Carolina Hurricanes the rest of the way. Excalibur always loves an underdog. We do as well, but just not from Canada. Go America. So, no. So I mean, Game 3 in Vegas should be a hell of a time. The crowd there, I think, is going to be pretty damn insane. They've built up a very, very, very tough crowd to have to be the opposing team in front of since they've been in the league, having the type of success that they've had. But really no surprise there. I mean, you're that successful, of course, you're going to build a following. You're going to build a following. So let us know in the comment section, what do you think of the Stanley Cup Stanley Cup Finals through 2 games. If you're listening on Spotify, we have shows every week live on YouTube. And if you're watching on YouTube, guess what? We're on Spotify as well. So if you're not able to watch the show live, don't worry. Immediately after the show or within a day or two of the show airing here on YouTube, we are on Spotify as well. The link to our Spotify channel should be there in the description section of the YouTube video. If not, I'll go check after the show here and make sure that we get that. But yeah, make sure to check us out on Spotify. If you're not able to watch the show live, you just need something easy to listen to on your commute to and from work or doing whatever it is that you're doing at home. We don't necessarily want to know all your personal business, but no, check us out on Spotify there as well. But let us know in the comment section through 2 games of the Stanley Cup Finals. What do you think so far, and who wins it all and why? Give us your takes in the comment section right now. Right now.
Now.
Now. You got anything else for this series?
Nope, not really. No, it'll just be interesting to see if Carolina can kind of hold together there in Las Vegas, and we shall see. Let's see what happens. Yeah.
All righty, well, good deal. Yeah, it should continue to be a hell of a series. Game 3 tomorrow night in Las Vegas. What do we think? We still have some time left. We've got our weekly sports betting segment. We're able to roll through the show pretty quickly tonight. You want to talk some baseball, or you want to get into weekly sports betting?
Let's talk about sports betting.
Okay.
Since
so
we already brought it up
sports
here.
betting.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So for those of you that are not aware, every week we started doing this, I think, with our second show. Every week, Danny and I do weekly sports bets. We kind of make a little competition out of it where we're not spending big money. We're just kind of doing it to, kind of dip our toes in the water and
$5.
Right. So basically we take $5 and we make bets with just a total of $5. Split that $5 up however you want. If you want to make one $5 bet, hey, that's great. So be it. You made a one $5 bet. Or you can split that $5 up however you see fit. And we kind of make a thing out of it where, looks like we got Teddy Scotch Barbecue. Oh, I think this is a buddy of mine from work. What's going on, man?
Nice.
I think that's my buddy Chris, if I'm not mistaken.
Scotch
What's going on,
barbecue.
brother? Welcome. Yeah,
I've heard whiskey
he's a big
barbecue. I've never done Scotch barbecue.
Yeah, yeah.
Actually, if you get like a really smoky, like malt whiskey, that could be, or single malt. Anyway, continue.
Yeah. So, like I said, $5 worth of bets. We don't go crazy with it. We take $5 and we split that up however we see fit. When we first started doing this a couple of weeks ago, I ended up beating Danny by a whopping 21 cents. And then this past week, he actually ended up in the negative. I think your $5 turned into negative $1.19. Yep. So he said, yes, sir. That must be my buddy Chris. What's going on, man? And then this past week, like you said, after you ended up going negative $1.19, I turned I forget like what it exactly came out to, but my net winnings were $1.70. So I think my net winnings, the total payout was like $6.70. So
accumulating quite the fortune there, aren't you, Rick?
I am. I've been playing with house money ever since that first $5 deposit.
Yeah,
I've been playing with house money at this point. It says Duval.
Nice.
Oh, shoot. Maybe this isn't my buddy Chris from work. Maybe this is one of my people from Jacksonville.
From Jacksonville. Nice.
What's going on? Duval. Oh, wait. Jeremy, is that you, man?
It's Teddy.
I don't know.
We'll find out. And if anyone's, for everyone who's watching, tell us your bets too. Like I kind of explained when we first started doing this, it's if you bet sports betting all the time, you're eventually going to lose your money or break even. So I always encourage, if you are going to do sports betting, just do it to enjoy that specific game. If you can set up all these parlays like every week and you're going to miss, and then you're going to hit that one where it's like a 1 in 35 and you're going to feel great about it. And then you're going to keep betting. And eventually that's going to disappear, and the amount of money that you spend over the year, if you're betting every week, it's going to be at a loss. So if you're doing it trying to make money, I think that's a bad idea. Do it for just it's a little seasoning on top of the game for, especially if there are games that you don't really watch a whole lot. Like I made a hockey bet, and so now I have something riding on this next game. So now it's like, oh, okay, now I have a rooting interest. Yeah. So that's really what me and Rick do. So if you guys want to join in and do the same thing, put $5 in, jump in the comments sometime where you're splitting that up, $1 here, $2 here, $5 just on this one team, and and we'll come back and see how you did, and we'll just have some fun with this.
I'll make it even more interesting. We'll kind of make a thing out of it tonight. If you want to, while we're still live on the show, we are using DraftKings, I think Sportsbook it's called.
Yeah.
So let us know your bets. You can spread your $5 out however you want. And by the way, this is my buddy Chris from work there. I didn't realize he was a Jags fan, but I can totally dig it. That was my last where I just moved from. So super excited about that. Duval. Yeah, he says throw 5, build a parlay, and have fun. That's exactly right. That's exactly what we're trying to do here. So for anybody watching right now, you can join us in the fun tonight. We're about to give our $5 bets, or $5 worth of sports betting that we did. We'll make a competition out of it. If you are able to, during this show, let us know how you split your $5 up and what the payouts are. Or if you're not able to comment during the show, message me or message Danny if you have us on any of your socials and whatnot. Or our email is down there, I think, in the link of our channel as well. But let us know your $5 bets. We'll make a competition out of it. And then next week, we'll announce a winner, and maybe we'll do a little extra something special for the winner, whether it's including you on the show, bringing you on the show. We'll do something special for you. I'll have to figure out what that is. But we'll
20
we'll
seconds
make
of uninterrupted.
Yeah.
Rick, if you end up winning, Rick will show you his secret lactation trick. And here's a hint: it's not what you think.
All right, Danny, what you got? What are your $5 bets this week?
Well, I was gonna go back and say the what I lost last week. I had how far back does this go? Was it Dallas? I had
says, do something special for me, Daddy.
Last week I had St. Louis beating the spread on Dallas. I lost that. Columbus beating the spread on Louisville. I lost that. I had Orlando beating the spread on DC. I won that. And then I had a parlay for a UFC fight, and I lost that. But this week, I had some other bets here that I'll talk about in a little bit. I have Louisville beating the spread. I think it's that's a championship game. We'll go back here. The first one I have is the Orlando Storm beating the spread, which is 3 points against DC. So they got to beat DC by 3 points. So that's a $2 bet. I have Louisville beating their 1.5 point spread. So if St. Louis wins by just a point, I still win. But and then I have $1 on the Carolina Vegas Knights game being under 6 points. So yeah, and then I also made just my own personal bets. I'll talk about that in a second, but I'll let Rick, you go ahead and tell us yours.
Sure. So Adam chimed in and said, $5 for a lactation trick, you'd pay 10. And then Chris says that he's got the licks on UFC. Let us know.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
What bets you made,
and if that's
you made in there.
UFC 250 is, I think 250 is the next one. I don't know if there's going to be one tomorrow.
It's like, I'm not sure if there is or not, but I think that might be next week. I know for sure there are fights next weekend. For my bets last week, I've got to go back here and look. So I ended up going 2 out of 3. So I made two $2 bets, the first of which being the San Antonio Spurs. I just took the money line for them to beat OKC. The OKC Thunder ended up winning, turned that $2 into $4.60. Then I bet another $2 on an anytime score from Hakeem Butler against the Dallas Renegades last week. Did not end up winning that one. And then this last one, I took the Carolina Hurricanes against the Montreal Canadiens in Game 5 of the Eastern Conference Finals. And I took the spread. I went against the spread. They had to win by at least 2 goals, and they certainly did. They won 6-1. So ended up netting like $1.70 in profit whenever it was all said and done. This week, for my bets, I've got let me go back here. So I took I kind of went a little bit interesting. I put a $2 bet on Battlehawks wide receiver Stephen McBride to finish with 75 or more receiving yards in the game.
Interesting.
And the reason why I took that one, I kind of tried to do a little bit of a deep dive here, but I was looking at his game logs, over the past. I know the hot name in St. Louis is Hakeem Butler. He just broke the all-time UFL receiving yards record. Has the record for yards per reception. Just a phenomenal receiver. But I think that Stephen McBride has kind of gone under the radar these past few games, or games where just they're not able to get Hakeem Butler as involved. He's had, I'm not able to pull it up right now, but the past 3 games, he had 6 or more targets in each of the last 3 weeks. And I want to say their second matchup against Houston, he ended up having some crazy 16 target game.
Whoa.
And I think one time, finishing with he's finished with 75 yards or better for the last 3 weeks consistently. So to me, that was a very advantageous one.
That's interesting. I like it.
Yeah. So if I win that one, Chris just sent me his bets this week. Okay, Chris, I got you. Yeah, so he's got his bets sent in. I've got his bets. So he took some UFC fights, and these are for the fights tomorrow and next week, apparently.
Okay, yeah, finish doing yours and let's get into Chris's.
Okay, and then hopefully my phone can stay alive. I'm at 4% right now. And then for the other side of the UFL playoffs, so this is for the Orlando Storm DC Defender game. I put a $2 bet on an anytime score for the Orlando defense to score a touchdown.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So I just thought, this is, I understand.
That's just a touchdown. It's not a safety or.
Well, it says here. I'm not sure. It says does not include a touchdown scored by. Yeah, so it's a touchdown score. I thought it would have included a safety, but it says here a touchdown score is defined as the players in possession of the ball in the opposing end zone. A touchdown score is not the player who throws the touchdown, which results in a successful touchdown. The selection stated defense does not include touchdowns scored by a special teams unit. So basically, they have to get a scoop and score. They have to get a pick six for me to cash in on this. But
gotcha.
If I do get it, that $2 turns into $10.
Damn.
So that was a pretty decent payout. And then the Stephen McBride one, that $2 will turn into $7.30. And
so if you hit that defense, it's pretty much over. Like I don't have any chance if I hit all mine.
And then my final bet here was just a $1 bet. I've made a habit of doing two $2 bets and one $1 bet. My $1 bet is I just took the straight up money line for the Vegas Knights to win tomorrow against the Carolina Hurricane. I almost said Avalanche. I got Colorado and Carolina mixed up. But I've got the Vegas Knights taking the win tomorrow at home in Game 3 against the Carolina Hurricanes. So that $1 will turn into a $1.89 if I win that one.
I think next week I'm going to take like 10 or 20 cents, maybe like 10 cents, and just find like something was just absolutely astronomical, these like stupid odds. And if I just win that, then it's like, $10 or whatever.
Right.
So that way it's just keeps. Because if you got like a $2 bet that's like 10, like you win the whole thing with $10, I should just have like something random like that at the very end where so okay, I got 10 cents riding, I got a Hail Mary shot to still be in this, but anyway, yeah, so it'd be good. What did was it Chris?
Yeah, my buddy Chris here from work told me. So he I'm sorry if he just sent me basically his pick. So tomorrow night. I'm not sure what the betting lines are. So Chris, you'll have to get with me as far as the specifics for payouts and whatnot. But it looks like for tomorrow he took in the main event he took Gabriel Bonfim against Bilal Muhammad. The co-main event he took I'm not even going to try to pronounce this guy's last name, Edmund Shabazian over Brandon Allen, and then on the main card there. Faraz Ziam against Tom Nolan, and a bantamweight matchup, Santiago Luna over Bryce Mitchell. So, Chris, if you could, just let me know what the betting lines were for those fights. Was it, did those guys have to win in a specific round? Is there a method? Like, what was the terms of each one of those bets so we can get that in there next week and track your payouts? That way, if you beat us next week, we can feature you something, feature you on the show somehow next week. Do something
and
special.
Chris, I'm gonna follow along with you too, because on I have like DraftKings I use more for this show, and I do FanDuel just for my own just betting. But the most betting I do is on UFC. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna follow Chris down the line. I'm gonna put $1 on each of those fighters. So I'll go back on Spotify. I'll listen to this again, and then I'm gonna match those exact same bets. And so I'm gonna be on the same horse with Chris. And we're going to do or die. So
just bet it, make money.
All right, I'm with you, man.
I'll be honest, I'm not super
ahead.
familiar with it, and I do enjoy watching the UFC. This card doesn't feature a ton of names that I'm familiar with.
But see, that's why it's fun to put $1 on it, because that's the same. Because I've watched the last couple of years, I've watched just about every event for the UFC. And even then, it's like, man, there's I say 80% of the fighters are just unfamiliar to me. which might just be bad on my end. But if you just pick a fighter, put $1 on them, and then you're rooting for someone throughout the whole fight. So I think UFC is the best place, like just the way I was talking about betting on just a sports event or a game that you don't really in the race. That just gives you that way, even if it's just a boring ass fight, you at least you're rooting for something, which I think is UFC is the best one to do. I wanted to just in terms of sports betting, if my app would stop being a dick. Hold on, it's making me go through these terms and stuff here. So, what I like to do before every season of the NFL is try to pick some of the lower ranked teams to win the Super Bowl. So, last year before the season started, what do you think the odds were for the Seahawks to win the Super Bowl?
Oh, gosh, I can't imagine they were very high at all, especially with them signing Sam Darnold. As much grief as we got for that.
60-1. So if you would bet $10, you would have won like 600.
That's insane. I looked at something like that on DraftKings Sportsbook for, just farting around with different stuff. So for like futures for the NHL, it's not working for me right now. Oh, there we go. So they had the futures for champions of next season. The lowest ranked team here on DraftKings Sportsbook was the Calgary Flames at plus 50,000. So let me see here. So even a $10. Oops, shit. Oh, don't tell me I just bet that.
Yeah. Well, while you're looking at that, I want to show you I made 3 bowl bets for next year. Yeah, you're in it now. You're in for it now.
I made a $1 bet on the. I accidentally just now made a $1 bet on the Calgary Flames.
Dude,
as I'm sitting here talking.
What's the payout?
So it's a $1 bet. If they win, I win $501.
Yeah, dude, go Flames.
Now it's going to make me go against everything that I believe in and rooting for a Canadian hockey team.
Well, I think you kind of spoiled this to me because that $500 is outrageous. But check these 3 bets out I made. So I bet $1 for Tennessee to win the Super Bowl. If they win, that's $131. Made $1 for Carolina, which is the other one that we're talking about with teams that we thought might be on the up. $1 would give me $91 if I win. And the last one I had was the Giants, and $1 would get me $71. But
oh wow,
it's just putting $3 in there just to win a Super Bowl. So it could happen.
Yep.
Like I said, with we saw with the Seahawks, that was like the 60-1, and now we're rooting for Calgary going in.
That feels so disgusting. Chris says, "Watch it, trust gut, make money, lose money," and Excalibur says, "Let's go Calgary."
Let's go Calgary. That's our new team.
Yeah. I believe. I would never root for anything Canadian, especially hockey. I just like
okay. But if they make squeak in the playoffs, dude,
damn it! If you're just tuning in, I just made it on accident a $1 bet on the Calgary Flames to win the Stanley Cup next year.
Yes.
It was an accidental $1 bet. That $1 bet, if the Calgary Flames win the Stanley Cup next year, that $1 turns into $501 because the odds are, at least as of right now, as of this recording, on DraftKings Sportsbook plus 50,000. So $1 turns into $501. Oh my gosh! So that means that
that's all, dude. Lean into it, man.
No.
Yes.
No, I'm not. I will never be excited about rooting for Canadian hockey.
Yeah. Listen to Adam.
He's got the
fire.
Yeah. Chris said no shot. I agree. Yeah. Even that, I felt like that was $1 wasted. Aside from the fact that it's a fucking Canadian team, there's no way in hell that the Calgary Flames, whatever the fuck they're called, that they even make it to You bet. Oh,
Yes.
Excalibur said he's sending me a Flames hat. He has my address too. Is what's crappy about all of this.
Yes.
But oh my gosh,
Dude, I'm gonna low key root for Calgary next year. I mean, not as much as like the Kraken and everything, but I'm gonna keep tabs on the Calgary and just every time they win, like, hey Rick, here we go, buddy. Dude, what happens?
But I mean,
and what if they just, dude? What's it gonna be like if they just squeak into the playoffs next year, and you're like, dude, you're potentially gonna win $500.
Yeah. The what? The Calgary
what?
Flame. The what? Never heard of her.
The Calgary Flamers.
The Calgary Flamers. Oh my gosh. Here we are.
I'm actually excited now. Yeah.
This is Murphy's Law at its absolute finest.
Dude, you
Murphy's Law at
should
its
on New Orleans.
Do what? I'm sorry.
You should make a bet on New Orleans.
The Saints?
Yeah, put $1 on them. Hold on.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
just-
my
it's
phone's
just-
dying,
it's-
so you might have to pull it.
Yeah,
up.
you're. I can look it up for you. I still got 22% because I got it. Let's see here. Where do I? Let's see if I go home. Hold on. You're
Adam
live
says,
watching me try.
and I will
figure
find
this
you a
out.
jersey made in the basement of a Wuhan China suburb. Seems pretty 1780s. This Calgary. It's funny
Oh,
we
here
were
they
just
are.
talking about that because this jersey that I'm now that Aviators jersey you're wearing, you actually bought that at a stadium, right?
Yeah, there's no name
At
on the
the
back
stadium.
of it or
Okay.
anything, but
Okay, yeah, this one, this is a custom Hakeem Butler jersey. I'll move the mic away so I can show the viewers here. So it is
I
a
didn't wanna bet.
custom Hakeem Butler jersey that I got from a Chinese sweatshop. I ordered it on DH Gate, but it's a freaking awesome looking jersey. Unfortunately, they don't sell custom made jerseys. So Adam said that he will find a jersey made in the basement of a Wuhan Chinese suburb for me to wear of the Calgary Flame, and I 100% believe it, man. Then
So-
Excalibur said Jets will win the Super Bowl. I bet that's
So-
a hell of a money line right there.
Well, going back to like our last episode, we were saying what teams are that no one suspects are gonna just take a big dive this next NFL season, and then what teams are gonna surprise everyone and be like actually like juggernauts, like we saw with like Indianapolis. Rick's first pick was New Orleans, and if he were to bet $1 on New Orleans, and if they win the Bowl, then he would pocket $91. So
Not too shabby. Not too
not too
shabby.
bad.
Doesn't
You
quite
like that better
pocket
than
me the
Calgary?
$500.
Yeah. Hey, you can bet on Arizona. I think that's like $500.
He said got the same jersey. I'm not sure if he's talking about my Hakeem Butler jersey or the proposed Calgary Flames jersey. We got the same jersey in Thailand for $13. I believe it. I wholeheartedly believe it. But it sucks though that with the UFL that they don't kind of lean more into because they could definitely make money off of these jerseys. I'm not the only person that I know of that the fans out there, buying these custom-made jerseys, from overseas. And this is, I'll not to be a sponsor of the show, but I have to look up the name of that seller on DHgate. But this ended up being a freaking cool jersey. It's a shame the UFL doesn't do it. Adam says, all jokes aside, the Giants are a playoff contender. Danny's bet on them is something to watch.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised that they're so bad. Because that was one of the teams that I said shouldn't count on our segment last week because I just figured we all assume that they're going to be good this next season. So that doesn't really. We said we don't really want to count that team, but I looked at the odds. The odds were like not good right now. I'll put $1 on that. So that's definitely I think has the best like a real shot of actually being a playoff contender and a Super Bowl winner. So. Yeah, watch out for my team. And
I think they will be a very good team. I think the NFC East is going to be a much, much more competitive division this year.
I do too.
especially depending on the health of Jaden Daniels there in Washington. It should be anybody but the Cowboys. 100% agreed. Anybody but the Cowboys. Literally,
The Cowboys are gonna
anybody
be
but
good.
the Cowboys. But they're
You
going
know
to be good. I hate to say it. And
it's
Chris,
kind of-
I'm not sure.
I'm-
You said I'm the first. Are you talking about of these jerseys? I'm definitely not the first. I actually found out about this jersey from another fan.
I say like in terms of like the NFC East, more and more I think I like the Eagles less than the Cowboys. Like, I think the Cowboys are a more passionate fan base, but the Eagles fans are just, they kind of seem like they boo their own.
No,
I think so.
Cowboys fans are far and away the most obnoxious sports fan base in all of sports.
Yeah, but see, I don't know. Maybe because you're from Texas, and so maybe you got it a lot more of it. And I know there's like Cowboys fans like all over the country, but I feel like the Cowboys fans are just more passionate. Even when they suck, they're still just hard Cowboys fans. I feel like Eagles fans, if their team sucks in any way, they revolt and will riot and just boo their own players and then just kind of like I said, watching that schedule release video, like watching Jalen Hurts. I didn't care about Jalen Hurts for forever after watching. I'm like, dude, I really don't like Jalen Hurts. So I don't know. I'm at this point, I would rather. I know you're gonna hate this, but I'd rather see the Cowboys win that division than the Eagles.
Yeah,
that's gonna piss you
Adam
off so
says,
much.
Eagles fans are assholes. Cowboys fans have no realistic expectations. I'll grant you that.
Yeah.
I think if absolutely nothing else, at the end of the day, I feel like we can both agree on that the Eagles and the Cowboys are the two most obnoxious fan bases in the NFL at an absolute minimum. I agree with that. And it really, in general, I would say that's kind of Philadelphia sports fans in general. I know the their hockey fans are very much the same way, although I'd put them kind of neck and neck with the Boston Bruins fans. But either way, I think that they are the two worst fan bases in the NFL. And Adam chimes in and says, I almost feel bad for Cowboys fans because of Jerry Jones.
Geriatric Jones.
Geriatric Jones. I don't think that team is... I think that they will be very good this year. I think that they absolutely knocked their draft out of the park with all those defensive players that they ended up getting in the draft. But I just don't see them going where they want to go while he's still running the team. I just don't. No. I just don't. Chris says the worst, the absolute worst. No. So I don't know. But it's gonna be a crazy day whenever Jerry finally does kick the bucket, which is likely sooner rather than later. It's not far off from now, but it's going to be a crazy day to watch what happens with that team after Jerry goes on to greater pastures, if you will. So, well, I think that's going to do it for us tonight, folks. Appreciate you guys tuning in again. If you're not able to watch the shows live every Friday, we're not sure next week. So if you weren't here at the beginning of the show, Danny is actually coming here to visit me so that we can go see the UFL championship game in D.C. Those teams playing are yet to be determined. Oh, and then Shannon says, Rams are going to the Super Bowl. Cronky's cheap ass is buying them tickets in lieu of giving out bonuses. Y'all got the voice. Thanks. I appreciate it, Chris. Appreciate it. Peace, Excalibur. But yeah, if you're not able to watch the show live every week, we are on Spotify. The link to our Spotify channel should be there in the description. If not, just look at our YouTube channel. We do have Spotify there as well. So if you just need something to listen to while you're grilling out or heading to work, whatever the case may be, you need something to listen to, we're happy to be there for you. Our hope is that this show can be, we don't pretend to be Pat McAfee or Stephen A. Smith or anything like that. Really, our thing is yes, we're talking sports, but we really hope that at the end of the day, this can be a place for you to unwind, shoot the shit with your buddies on the screen, right? And just, kind of escape from the day-to-day. A lot of you have jobs or family stuff or whatever else going on that does not really give you the opportunity to do that. So, again, consider following us on Facebook, Spotify, obviously here on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to us. We're working on potentially getting on a couple of other streaming platforms. We should be able, I believe at the beginning of next month, be able to live stream on YouTube Facebook and YouTube simultaneously. So keep an eye out for that. And next week, Danny is coming to town to visit to watch the UFL championship game with me in DC. We will be there. It should be awesome. I ended up buying, and I got to credit Adam for this one. I bought us the cheapest standing room tickets that we could find. And our plan is, and Adam, I think, is planning much the same, to get the cheapest tickets, be there when gates open, and then claim seats. There's a bar right there by the end zone that's just absolutely perfect. It's a covered patio right next to the bar. So we will definitely try to get, if we don't end up doing a show next week, we'll see what we can do. But we'll definitely get lots of pictures and videos to share with you guys the following week. Nevertheless, again, follow us on YouTube and Facebook. We'll post a lot of short form content there as well. And yeah, I think that's pretty much all I got. You got anything before we close out, Danny?
Yeah, I just wanted to give a shout out to Excalibur, to Chris, to Shannon. Shout out to Adam. And how do I move this scroller up? It's not working. Who else was? Teddy. Anyone else? Keith. Oh yeah, absolutely, Keith. God, there's a lot of freaking comments today.
Yeah,
so
it
yeah,
was
I think that's about everyone.
You guys appreciate the support.
Yeah, absolutely. Adam,
all right,
too,
guys.
there's another one.
Yep, another Adam there. Yeah, so again, appreciate you guys. Be sure to stay tuned for the next episode, and we'll catch you then.